We can hear that, Madam President.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to remind everyone to please be sure that all cell phones are turned to the off or vibrate position. And also, please be advised, our city council meetings are broadcast on Comcast Channel 99, AT&T UVerse, the City of Gadsden YouTube channel, and WMGJ Radio. This meeting of the Gadsden City Council will now come to order. The chair will call on City Clerk Ivan Nelson for the roll call.
Councilwoman Toles.
Here.
Councilman Williams.
Here.
Worthy.
Here.
Back.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Councilman Cannon is absent today. Councilman Reed.
Here.
We do have a quorum present, and our meeting is open for business. Heath Williamson will lead our invocation today. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings of the day, Father. We've never deserved them, Father, never will. We just thank you for your love, your grace, and your mercy. Just pray, Lord, that you would continue to bless this city. Lead us, guide us, and direct us as we go forward, Father. May we know your will, surrender to your will, and please you with all that's done here and in the future. And we give you the thanks. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the 2 work sessions and council meetings held on April 16th.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to approve minutes.
The chair will entertain a motion to ratify payments of accounts for the week of April 12th through 18th.
So moved. Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to ratify payment of the accounts.
Proclamation.
No, ma'am.
Unfinished business. No council action is necessary regarding 2208 East Broad Street in District 1 as the nuisance has been abated by the owner. This is the time and place as advertised to conduct a public hearing allowing anyone to speak in opposition or to or in favor of a resolution or an abatement of nuisance on property located at 125 Washington Avenue in District 1, Carrie Alexander, care of Rose Floyd, Jeanette Floyd, Sean Floyd, Willie Murphy, or O.D. Murphy and Rose Floyd being the last known owners. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? If you come to the podium here and give your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Janetta Floyd, and I'm from Rome, Georgia. And I'm here for 125 Washington Avenue. My mother's not here because she had eye surgery today, so I came instead. We received paperwork containing 125 that it was a nuisance, and it was 129 there also, but I have the paperwork showing that the windows was broken out, but as far as 125, the doors and windows are there. But I came down last month, somebody had broken in the back door, kicked the door in, broke the window out, took the ceiling down, just ramshacked the house. We had getting ready to put new cabinets and countertops. They was put outside, they was rained on. So I relocked the house up. So, my concern, I guess we got to have somebody to inspect it, because my aunt was living in the house. We put in a nursing home. Her son is in a mental hospital at the time. So, reason I didn't want the house demolished, because he have to have somewhere to stay when he comes out. So once again, we was fixing on the house. And this will be the 3rd time that we remodeling the house.
Okay, so what are you asking for?
Whatever the appropriate time for us to me, the only thing we had to do was go in and paint and have to redo the kitchen because stuff was taken out the house.
What about the outside of the house? That's a concern, because that's what people see as to the reason why they call it they'll say it's a nuisance. Not saying that it is, but
I mean,
what about the outside?
the yard was cut, the hedges was trimmed, so I don't know what else could be a nuisance besides is a tarp on top of the house where a limb fell off the tree that's remaining there.
So how much are you asking for time, or what
Yes.
are you asking for?
Time.
Because basically our limit is 30. They give you 30 days to sort of bring it up to standards.
30 days. Okay.
I mean, that's what. But we want to hear from our building inspector or director, Mr. Brian Harbison.
Okay.
We want to hear from him first.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor?
Madam President, I am Brian Harbison. We filed this case in July of last year. There have been no improvements. There are no permits to improve. These pictures you're looking at today were taken 6 days ago. We're asking for a resolution to abate the nuisance.
Mr.
Harbison, looking at the picture, is this building, is this house safe? I mean, can you save it? Could it be a structure if?
We, with a resolution, we would crunch the numbers and see if it would qualify for our rehab program. And we base that on 20% of last year's tax appraised value. So we could only spend around $2,600. That's completely, limited to the outside. Just looking at the pictures, I'm not sure if that would do what needs to be done just on the outside.
What about in Ms. Baker's office, the $5,000 federal money?
They won't touch that unless somebody is in there.
Oh, okay.
They have to be living there, have to qualify, and the $5,000 would have to go toward keeping them in there.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, it has to be the homeowner, the owner
Yeah,
of the
it
property.
has to be owner
It can't be a
occupied.
rental.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Jeanette, do you, looking at the pictures and looking at the structure, I mean, it looks, outside it looks maybe real, but the inside, 30 days, can you get all of that done in 30 days?
The inside is not really that bad. It just needs to be painted on the inside, and the cabinets got to be put in. But someone went in on the inside and pulled my cabinets out in the backyard, and they got rained on.
Mayor, would you pass those pictures back down? That picture back down?
Madam President, may I ask Ms. Floyd a question?
Yes.
Ms. Floyd, do you have any idea what the budget would be to make these repairs? Let's say even if you could get them done in 30 days, because the concern I have on projects like this is that appears to be a pretty substantial repair bill. Based on the pictures I see with the damage to the roof and whatnot, at some point you're putting good money over bad. You're going to have to put a considerable amount of money in this house. And to Mr. Harbison's point, if it's only going to appraise for a certain amount of money, at some point financially, it doesn't make sense for you to try to rehab this house. You're never going to get your money back out of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious, do you have any idea of the dollar figure that it would take to repair this? And is that something you got a plan for? If not...
I had a contractor to come down.
Okay.
She can get to it before the tear it down.
Because there was another house right beside it. And it was 129.
And has that been torn down?
Yes.
Okay.
With no more.
Well, that's a different hearing. I was just curious.
But 125, the contractor that came down with me when we cut the grass and everything. And we locked the doors, we put the cabinets in and everything, so I come back down, which I have family that live here, and I got a phone call, and I come back, all my cabinets in the backyard and wet.
Well, see, that's my concern. What we've seen time and time again here is if you don't perform the repairs all at once and get a tenant in there, because you're not unlike many people that we speak with about these issues. They live out of town and they come here when they can and do repairs as they can. Well, that means that house sits there vacant for long periods of time, which certainly makes it susceptible to break-ins and things like that. So that's the reason I said the key, I think, to projects like this, if you're going to save them, is to be able to do all the work at once, get it done, and get somebody in there that occupies that space. Otherwise, I don't see how I could recommend that you spend the kind of money it's going to take to do that. It just looks like a really big project to me.
Yeah, but see, my name is not the only one on there, but because the house is going through name change
Yes, ma'am.
right now, so that's what I'm saying, it's going through name change to get it out of my mom's name into my name. So it's in a lawyer's hand.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to recommend that we pass the nuisance. And if you get to it before we get to it, that's fine. But, right now, and from what I see, I'm going to abate the nuisance. I need a second.
Okay, yeah, I'll second.
We've had discussions. Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Our next public hearing is a resolution on abatement of nuisance on property located at 213 H Street North in District 2. This is Euless E. Parker and Connie L. Parker being the last known owners. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Would you come to the podium and give your name, please, and address?
Euless Earl Parker, address is 367 Lakefront Drive, Southside, Alabama.
Okay.
The house in question, everything has been being worked on as recently as in the last week. I don't know what the problems are with it right now. We removed some trees here a while back and ground some stumps up probably about 3 weeks ago, and it was wet and we didn't get them up off the ground at the time, but we have moved everything within the last week. And I think at one time there's some windows out of it. We replaced those, then had another window get knocked out and we replaced it. And I think we had some holes in the side and then we covered those up. I think at one time the grass was tall, but it's all been cut and the backyard's been landscaped, graded down and ready to replant grass now. So as far as what is going on now, I got a letter concerning it, but didn't actually say what was wrong with the house.
Are you asking this council for, what are you asking for?
I'm asking to know what's wrong with it.
Oh, okay, all right, well, we'll have, Mr. Harvison will come forth and at this time, we thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who speaks in favor of this resolution?
Madam President, we filed our case in July of last year. There have been no improvements since that time. There are no active permits on it. There are some serious structural issues with the house concerning some rot and termite damage. We're asking today for a resolution to abate this nuisance.
Mr. Harbison, I'm assuming because there are structural issues at play here, does that mean that this one too would likely not be eligible for the Yeah.
So, Mr. Harbison, the main issue is the structural integrity of the house with the termite damage?
That's the primary issue.
That's the primary issue? Okay, I think to the gentleman's, Mr. Parker wanted to know what the problem was. It sounds like there's the integrity of the structure of the house with termite damage eating away the wood would be probably the major problem. And to Councilman earlier comment of Councilman Wilson about you reach a point of no return when you put more money into a house than it's worth, that might be the position that you would find yourself. Mr. Harbison's been doing this 27 years, looks at these houses, he and his team, every day. And unfortunately, some of them reach that point to where they're either not salvageable, or it would cost so much money to salvage the house that once you looked at those numbers, you may not be interested in making that happen. So that's just the thought, if that answers your comments earlier or your questions.
I would like to know why this wasn't brought up before, put a new roof on it and did other work on it. As far as termite damage and everything, and as far as termite damage, you know, it's been sprayed and any rotten wood can be removed.
Mr. Harbison?
Yes, we sent the inspection report that was dated July the 13th, 2018. Exterior walls moving away from foundation, a great deal of rotten wood is visible with other issues checked as far as the exterior of the property. And if you were the registered owner at that time, you would have received this.
Yeah, I should have received it. I received one
Okay.
here recently about some, but that's the only one I received.
But Mr. Harbison, just a very quick question. Do you have at your disposal now the history of any historic cases related to this property? I mean,
Yes, it's in this file.
It's
That
okay.
is correct, yes.
How many open cases, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm sorry, open.
As it relates to, how many different open cases have we had related to that dwelling?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So I know we've got this case that actually started in July of 2018.
Yes.
Have we had other open cases related to that property in the
To that property?
Yeah.
Well, once this was filed back in July, we haven't had anything else filed against the property. There may have been some other nuisance cases involving trash and debris or overgrown lot.
So
I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, yeah,
if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, nothing predating this July case.
Yes,
So that's not a no, that's just I don't have that in front of me right now.
that's correct,
Okay.
yes.
Mr. Parker, I have a question. I'm assuming this house is not occupied at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me the last time it was occupied?
It's probably been about 4 years. At that time, someone come in and stole a brand new air conditioning unit out of it. And that was like $3,500, and I was gonna have to put that back into it again.
Sure.
Get it rented again, so.
Well, again, this is just my personal observation sitting on the other side of the story a lot of times with these things. I see this as a recurring theme with every one of these things. These are properties that do not have a tenant in them, and the owner has good intentions and says, I want to bring it up to code, but if there's not a plan to have somebody living in this thing, it's just going to, in my opinion, it's just going to continue to cost you money. It's going to just be a downward spiral. That's all.
Are you willing to put the money into it to fix it? You want to keep it?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a termite bond?
No, there's not a termite, well, there's one on it, but it's out of date.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the council?
Move to move to pass the resolution.
Second. Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Our next public hearing is a resolution on abatement of nuisance on property located at 306 Roslyn Drive in District 2. This is FNA NP LLC and a redemption right of Herbert Kinbrew Downey and his or her, if deceased, being the last known owners. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor?
Madam President, we filed our case in June of last year. There have been no improvements. There are no permits to improve, and we're asking today for a resolution to abate this nuisance.
Is there any discussion? What is the pleasure of the council?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Our next public hearing is a resolution on abatement of nuisance on property located at 927 South 6th Street in District 5, Sandra Beck. The Exchange Bank and First Alabama Macomb Gadsden being the last known owners. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution?
Yes, Madam President, there are a couple of potential buyers. I'm sorry, I just stepped right in front of you. I knew the gentlemen were here. They came to see me earlier this morning. This property involves a duplex, which is 2 dwelling units, and it has somewhat been under the process of being repaired over the last several years. We've dealt with this would be our 3rd owner. But due to the area, the housing need, and the condition of this property, I have no objection to this case being tabled for 30 days, which I understand is what it's going to take to have a recorded deed. And once that takes place, we'll be dealing with a new owner anyway. I'm sorry.
Hey, Madam President and members of the council. I'm Misty Sosby Ledbetter, an attorney here in Gadsden. I represent Prime Media and the president, Dwayne Holmes. We have entered into a purchase agreement with the owner of this property for this property and several others. She actually had a stroke and several other medical conditions, which is what caused the deterioration of this property and unkept of it. We are asking for this to be tabled for 30 days to allow us time to execute the proper legal documents and transfer of property so that we can start the rehabbing of the property. The intention is to rehab the property and get it up to code and put it on the market to rent or sell. Thank you.
Madam President, I make a motion that we table this resolution for 30 days to allow
Second.
time for the deed to be achieved.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to table the resolution for 30 days, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to table for 30 days.
Our final public hearing is a resolution on abatement of nuisance on property located at 44 West Tuscaloosa Avenue in District 7, Gunavant Parkway, in care of William Thrasher being the last known owner. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor?
Madam President, this case involves abandoned vehicles, trash and debris, and just general junk. And we've been working this case for going on 7 weeks now, with little improvements. We've actually attempted to go to court once, we're unsuccessful there. We're asking for a resolution from the council to give us the authority and opportunity to go onto this property and abate the nuisance. That's what we're asking for today. Thank you.
Any discussion?
I move to adopt.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Item 14 and 15 is the resolution authorizing temporary easements for the use of right-of-way on North 11th Street, and this will allow construction of a fence and a gate upon the city's right-of-way by each of the following businesses, and that's James M. Christian Electric, 1039 First Avenue, and Gadsden Auto Acquisition, Team 1 Chrysler of Gadsden, 1101 First Avenue. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt both of these resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt both resolutions, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt both.
New business?
Yes, Madam President, I have one item that I'd like to present for consideration today. It's a resolution awarding the Riverfront Development Site Work Phase 2 project to TACO Construction.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to consider the resolution today as an item of new business, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, consent has been granted.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Madam President, if I may, the details behind this are, this is for site prep work relative to the Buffalo Wild Wings project, and it's for paving, layout and paving of the parking lot, lighting. Heath, am I leaving out anything critical there?
That's major.
Those are the major portions. So just wanted to point that out. That's where this money's going.
Well, just to add one thing, Councilman Williams, because I know the mayor's office would like to point that out. That's shared use parking.
Yes.
You know, it's not just for Buffalo Wild Wings. It's for the entire venue space over there, and there's some other retail spaces too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Is there any other new business?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Madam President. I've got a resolution here that I would like to be considered today, authorizing a right-of-way agreement with the state of Alabama for the reconstruction of South 11th Street from Black Creek Parkway to the bridge at Black Creek.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to consider the resolution today under new business, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, consent has been granted.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Madam President, as an administrative follow-up to that, this would be an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2019 budget, transferring funds, $200,000 to the engineering department MPO project match account for the right-of-way acquisition for the reconstruction of South 11th Street from Black Creek Parkway to the new bridge over Black Creek. I'd like to make a...
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to consider the ordinance today under new business, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we have unanimous consent for consideration.
Move to adopt.
Second. Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the ordinance, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Department reports, committee, board. Remarks by the mayor and Councilman Reed.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Councilman Wilson?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor's office and the engineering department for all the hard work they've put in recently on South 11th Street. And I mean, just about from one end of it to the other. What a big project, and what a important project for not only District 5, but for the city. That main artery of South 11th Street has become more and more heavily traveled over the last several years, and it's going to be a welcome addition to District 5 to have that work completed. So thank you all for your hard work on that.
Okay. Councilman Back?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Councilman Worthy?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I just want to say, I want to do a correction. I've been putting out information that we were sort of doing scholarships, the 15 scholarships for the technical program, the career tech over at Gadsden City to Gadsden State, but we hadn't been doing that. And I just want to apologize, because I was a little upset at the counselors over there at Gadsden City High School, but I happened to be over there a couple of days ago talking to my wife, and one of the counselors walked up and we started talking, and I asked her about it. And so then I asked the president to look into it, and we found out this morning that we have not been doing that. So I just want to make that correction. I don't like putting out false information. You know, I've been saying it at my community meetings and different stuff. So I just want to make that correction. Thank you.
Councilman Williams?
I don't have anything.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. I'm concerned about a lot of things that's been going on the last few months that affect the city of Gadsden, but it's people who do not live or reside in Gadsden who's causing the issues. First of all, let's talk about the alliance that the county passed. The alliance consists of 3 or 4 people who were elected officials, and they lost the race, so they're out of office. And the alliance was formed to put them back in with the county commission. And then now they have, I've had several calls from hotel owners about they passed a law without talking to us or anybody else. Our senator did, Mr. Jones, and going up on the rate for the hotel rental. And then that money is going to be used partly to pay the salaries for the alliance for the people who got beat out of office. So I don't know how you get to that point without talking to the governing body about passing taxes in our city and affecting our business owners. And there's a lot of people who come in and out. You may not think the motels, but we have a lot of industry here. And a lot of people are flying for a couple of days and fly back out. And I mean, it's really a big thing. And then it's sort of like the Board of Education. We have somebody who doesn't live here who put up a bill to change the Board of Education to an elected board, which I don't have a problem with elected board myself. But there was no really requirements for anything. If you could add 2 and 2, then you could get elected. And then the last thing is, I just don't understand how people, usually the governing body asks the delegation or the people who go to Montgomery to pass something. But it seems like the trend is getting to be where they don't have to ask the delegation to do anything. They just come up after they've talked to some people who are not doesn't do the business with the city of Gadsden and pass bills. And the elected board thing cost us a couple $100,000. I wonder where we're going to get that money back. So, I'm really having a real problem with the county passing that and then letting people be back, I guess, and have a say in whatever's going on and pass bills or taxes along to people in the city of Gadsden. I just don't understand all that. Got a real problem with it.
Councilman Williams, you wanted to?
Yeah. I guess I want people to understand why any bill being advertised regarding home rule is of interest to this body in particular. Is really important to note that the history related to home rule is particularly important for legislative bodies that include minority members. If you haven't recalled your history, weren't aware of this point in history, in 1901 there was a statewide constitutional convention in Alabama, and that constitutional convention was convened for the sole purpose of disenfranchising African Americans, former slaves at that time, poor people, and women. The first group that I mentioned, former slaves, African Americans, were the primary target. Home rule was one of the elimination of home rule or the centralization of power in Montgomery or the state capital was one of the ways that they, for decades and for centuries, ensured that that local bodies who they predicted and had experienced through Reconstruction could and would eventually become more diverse, more female. When they realized that the laws that they passed and the Constitution that we live under in the state of Alabama were designed to limit the ability and the authority of those groups to establish rule for themselves. So that's why preemption and the elimination of home rule are such a big issue. Now, I don't blame any municipality for wanting to govern themselves. So I don't blame the county for wanting to be able to impose those types of or levy those types of taxes for whatever reason. And I'm not in favor of it, but I don't blame them for trying to gain some level of control because they have some budgetary issues that they need to shore up, and this is an opportunity to raise revenue. What I am concerned about is, as a body, we tend to get more meddling than discussion and consultation. There are very few instances when we are consulted with, but we do get meddled with quite a bit, and for me that part's concerning. And I have to believe that. And again, this is what's tough for me, because we don't need this as a city, we don't need this as a county, and we don't need it as a state. But I think there's some racial motive behind some of the practices that we see. And what I would ask is that the delegation please step forward and begin, and we're going to prevent a platform and an opportunity for them to do so, but what I would ask is that the delegation please take the opportunity to talk to us and consult with us and discuss with us, as you have with the county, before these types of things are advertised and presented. Because what is apparent and what is invariably going to be the outcome is that if this type of bill passes, the vast majority, with us being the county seat, the vast majority of the folks that are going to be impacted by a new tax or a new tax increase are going to be folks in the city of Gadsden. And something that we noted earlier is that the vast majority of the folks who will pay the highest percentage of this tax are going to be folks in Councilman Back's district, because that's where the income is highest. So again, I want people to understand the reason Madam President, the reason I've kind of gone into this is because I want people to understand, without anybody being or me being overly emotional, there is a very solid basis for a distrust of the political process because it lends itself to a very old formula of disenfranchisement And I'm very concerned about that. I really am. I'm very concerned about it, and I think we have a responsibility to call the delegation to explain and discuss their motives. The mayor mentioned the school board election, and I think that's one of the shining examples. You know, all of us are open to whatever the citizens of our city want and what they favor. But what we were concerned about is that there was no discussion. And the only discussion, the only deliberation that took place regarding that was deliberation and discussion that we initiated and that we called for. And so all we ask, again, is to be consulted with, to be talked to before these types of things are presented and advertised, and that we have an opportunity to convey the sentiments of our constituents and the sentiment of the citizens of Gadsden before we get impacted by these types of things. That's all we ask for.
Councilman Wilson wanted to.
Well, I just wanted to first of all, let the citizens of Gadsden know and make a direct call to the state delegation for our area. As chairman of the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee at the direction of the Office of the Mayor, I've been asked to reach out and invite those members of the delegation, Senator Jones, Representative Lipscomb and Nordren and Isbell, to come and meet with us in this format, as many of those are freshmen members of the legislative body. I understand that it can be difficult at times to follow rules and procedures. You've all seen me stumble over some rules and procedures up here. So, but I do think it's important to use the old line from the classic movie. You know, what we have here is a failure to communicate, and I think it's important that we focus on that communication and not let this relationship go south right away. And to echo the points of this body, you know, prime example with the hotel lodging tax. I certainly understand the principle behind that, but again, an overwhelming majority of the hotel rooms in this county are inside the city of Gadsden. That means we provided the infrastructure and the services that allow those businesses to operate. And what's been proposed right now by our delegation is that a lodging tax be passed, an increase to the lodging tax be passed, and that the city of Gadsden would receive none of those resources. So there's things like that I think are maybe genuine oversights, but that's why communication is critical, and I'd like to openly invite the members of the delegation to come meet with us, and I'll be doing so on a personal level as well. So thank you.
Yes, we need, go ahead.
I'm sorry. In light of these conversations, you know, I'm one of 2 new city council members. There's, I think, 3 new county commissioners, and there's 3 out of 4 new legislative members. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of rhetoric about, you know, working together as a county. And so, you know, you hear that and you take that at face value. As my father used to tell me when I was in high school, I hear what you're saying, but I see what you're doing. So I'm going to, I guess, step up and call, along with Councilman Wilson and Williams and the mayor. We see what y'all are doing, but we also hear what you're saying, but they're not the same. So if these ladies and gentlemen are going to say they want to work together, yet they offer legislation that directly affects Gadsden, and yet they don't speak to us, that's very concerning. And if any of you are residents of the city of Gadsden, it should be very concerning to you. These are your representatives. They're your county representative, and they're also your state representative. So, you know, I think it's time, you know, we're all adults. Everybody in this room, everybody that serves as an elected official, we're all adults. And I think it's time we act like adults. And if you're going to tell me you're going to want to work together, then work together. If you're not going to work together, then don't come to me and tell me that, hey, we're going to work together. Let's all be together. So it should be a new day, and maybe after today, it will be a new day. I agree with Councilman Wilson. We're new. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've got a lot to learn. But we need to work together, and I'm going to be reaching out to these folks that have told me that they wanted to work together, and I'm going to ask them, why are we not working together? So we'll turn the light on in a dark room and we'll see what happens. But
Madam President, I'd
it's
also
just
like,
time.
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
sorry,
okay. Go
Councilman
ahead.
Beck. I'd just also like the record to show that when the delegation was here, I did reserve the right to talk bad about them in the paper. That's on the record. So I'm
Yeah.
taking advantage of that.
And I reminded them that we do have them on tape, that they said that they was wanting to work together, unity. You know, I haven't, this is my second term on the council, but it's always been the talk that the council did not want to work with the county or with the delegation. Well, now we're finding out where the real truth is. We're willing to work. We've reached out, stretched out the olive branch, and so now it's time, as they say, they got to put their actions where they're, you know, or were they just lying? That's what we have to say. Were they just lying?
Madam President, I'll just echo that by saying this. You know, again, one of my heroes, we lost him shortly, a little time ago, and Mr. Eccles went to his grave with a healthy distrust for that relationship, and they earned that healthy distrust.
Can I? Let me say one word. Come on, Madam President. Now, nobody up here has been talking about unity and wanting to work together more than me. And this is a slap in the face. It really is. Because, you know, every meeting I go to, when I talk about unity of the city working together, the county working together, and our state delegation. And then and I said, and I'm not going to talk about them because I said I want to talk about them in the paper, but I'm going to go to them. I just found out about this, and thank you for giving us that information this morning. We just found out about it, so to Frankie for passing that on to us in pre-council meeting. But I'm going to still say we got to work together.
Yeah.
But we go also, like Councilman Back just said, hey, we're going to watch and see what you do, and we'll listen to what you say. But we may not trust you. Thank you.
I would just like to encourage, that's why voting is so important. Voting is so important, and you need to learn what the issues. No, you're not a politician, but politics affect every inch of your life. And so you need to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on in Montgomery as well as here. Hey, you all call us when we don't pick up the trash. You all call us when there's problems in your neighborhood. So you have a right to call these delegates, the delegation, and let them know that you're not pleased with, let's just say, they plan on raising taxes higher than what it is. So you need to know what's going on and act accordingly. District 1 will have a meeting April the 29th, Antioch Family Life Center. We look for you all to come. No refreshments. Is there anything else? I call for
Motion, second, third.
So move.